Hi, everyone. Welcome to our first edition of Fall River Daily News Update. We're going to recap some of the current news here in the city and some national news. My guest and friend is former Mayor William Flanagan, and obviously not the mayor anymore. He's a top-notch criminal attorney in the city. William, you look sharp as always.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming in on
Great
Saturday.
to be here with you. And first, let me say, wow, this is like
nice.
top shelf studio we have here. This is impressive.
Yeah, we've come a long way since
A long way.
your first show with me.
This is wow.
Yes, thank you.
Are we sure we're in the right place?
Yeah, well, you're in the top show of the city.
All right.
All right.
Okay.
So,
All right.
well, obviously, we're going to do some good national stuff because a whole lot of stuff's happening nationally. Do you want to go national first?
Yeah, why don't we do national?
Yeah, why don't we do national first? Okay, so recently we seen Joe Biden take a huge dive, right? And it looks like coming out of this last one, he probably going to have to step aside. Would you agree on that?
Not sure yet.
No? What do you think?
Let's start with the Democratic Party. That's where
Yeah,
you
all
picked
right,
up.
sure.
And I have to say, right now, looking at the Democratic Party, your front runner is probably Bernie Sanders. It seems like he has the momentum. He won the Iowa caucus's popular vote. He won the popular vote in the New Hampshire primary. Now we're going on to Nevada as well as South Carolina and leading up to Super Tuesday. Biden seems like he's not able to catch Bernie.
Yeah.
And then you have Pete Buttigieg, the former mayor of South Bend, Indiana, who did really well. You know, he won the caucus, although he didn't get the popular vote. He finished in the top two in New Hampshire. Yeah. But now we're going into the southern states, and one of the issues that Buttigieg has to deal with is his homosexuality.
Yeah.
Because that's polling. Christian Belt. You're going into the Bible Belt. Also, the African Americans are not willing, it seems at this point, to bring Buttigieg on as one of their candidates.
Right.
So you ask me, do I think Joe Biden is done yet? No. But if he does not have an impressive performance after Super Tuesday in March, which Massachusetts has an opportunity to vote, I think he's going to have to bow out at that point.
Right.
But the guy that we haven't mentioned is the former mayor of New York, Michael Bloomberg.
With a big pocketbook.
Powerhouse.
Pocketbook, yeah. And I was saying today briefly that I felt that financially he's in the best space of any of the Democrats, not only from his own ability to fund his campaign, but from very wealthy contributors that he's friends with.
Well, Bloomberg is funding his own campaign. You know, I went to the Michael Bloomberg campaign office in Fall River, and I was speaking to the lady who was running the office, and I asked her, do you have any fundraisers going on? Can I, when are you going to do donations? She said, oh, no. Michael's funding his own campaign. In fact, he's spending $34 a second. Think about this. $34, $34, $34, $34. That's what he's spending right now on the election.
Wow.
So if you think about the candidates, Bernie Sanders, he's, over here. Buttigieg, he's probably over here. Biden, he's over here. Bloomberg's right in the middle. And one of the things I found out about Bloomberg this week, I read an issue paper on him. He does not support the legalization of marijuana. That may hurt him in the Democratic Party.
I think it'll help. It'll help those that are more to. It'll help Bernie. It'll definitely help anyone who comes to Massachusetts and is pro marijuana. But I think that's going to hit him. But I think what's going to hit him even worse than that is his policies around minorities and stuff like that. Yeah, and he's been. You've seen in New Hampshire, he wouldn't even answer the question. He sidestepped it.
So what is stop and frisk, right? So when Bloomberg was the mayor of New York City, he allowed his police officers to institute the policy of stop and frisk. As a citizen, you have rights. You are free from illegal searches and seizures. For a police officer to stop you and search you, they have to have at least a reasonable suspicion or at least probable cause that you're committing a crime. Bloomberg pretty much as the mayor of New York, took away your constitutional rights and allowed his officers to stop and frisk, especially in minority neighborhoods.
Yeah.
So if you're a young black man walking the streets of Brooklyn or downtown Manhattan, and a police officer was just allowed to take you and throw you up against a wall and pat frisk you and go in your pockets, that's not right.
And they did a lot of it.
They did a lot of it.
And I actually wasn't speaking about him. What I was actually speaking about was Mayor Pete and his policy. When he became mayor, his policy on stopping people, he tied it to the gun law. He said that what he did was he wanted to get guns off the street, so this was a way of doing it. But in reality, it brought the numbers the highest they have ever been, and they're not coming down. So he put a policy in place a few years back that is still there today.
Yeah, Mayor Pete has some huge issues within South Bend, Indiana, when it comes to race.
Yes.
In fact, I believe the white officer were involved in several racial issues with the community, especially with the young African Americans there in South Bend, Indiana. So when I look at that Democratic Party, there is no perfect candidate. There is no candidate that can come out and say, "Hey, I got a clean record to run on."
Nope.
Not
at
and
all.
then the person we haven't even touched upon yet is Donald John Trump.
Well,
He's in a league of his own.
he's in a league of his own, and he has already proven that the race card didn't work. Now, will it work second time around? Because they went after him big time. The Clinton people went after him big time. They pulled up all kinds of stuff on things he said and his people he hung with. I just seen he got endorsed by the leader of the KKK, which, I mean, how do you stop somebody from endorsing you? You really, it's not like he went up there and sought it, But will that hurt him, you think?
No.
No.
I think Trump's base is a very strong base,
Yep.
and there is no other Republican candidate that the Republicans can go to. It's either Donald Trump or you stay home and you don't vote. But I think the election is so important to those Republican candidates that they are not going to stay home. They would rather have a Donald Trump over a Bernie Sanders. They would rather have a Donald Trump over a Michael Bloomberg. And, as a person, I think Trump's very entertaining. But when it comes to policies, especially policies for cities like Fall River, Massachusetts, I don't know how good of a president he is, because he's looking to make some cuts to Medicaid, Medicare, Social Security, food stamps. These are programs that historically have helped the poor people, and for inner cities, there's a lot of poor people.
Yeah. I guess you have to look at the breakdown nationwide. How many of the communities like Fall River have the amount of population, right? What's their population? And we also know a big problem with Fall River and communities like it is that though you may have 90,000 people, you have 20,000 people showing up to vote.
Yeah.
So that we do have enough people here to hurt him, but they don't vote. So does he really care about us?
Probably not, right? Does he care about Massachusetts?
I doubt it at all.
Because when you look at Massachusetts, you look at New York, you look at California, those are all blue states. And the Republican's not going to win Massachusetts. The Republican's not going to win New York. Does being a blue state hurt us with the president? How about a state like Georgia or Alabama or Louisiana? Are they getting more federal funds right now? Is more money going to those states for bridge repair and road repair? Trump will come down and support their governor, their U.S. senators, their congressional leaders. We're not seeing that here in Massachusetts.
No, you're not.
The
not
president's
at all.
not coming here.
No. And he gave us very little attention in his first run. I think we'll get less now. And I think part of that is that our Republican governor hasn't really put his arms around Trump.
He's distanced himself.
Yeah, this time around, from an article I read today, was that he's not even saying, he's keeping it to himself.
Right.
So if he came out and said, yeah, I'm going to support the Republican ticket, maybe then, a couple of Trump people would show up. I still don't think they would, because I think it gets to a point where what I said earlier is we're not a threat to his campaign.
No.
So we get what we sow. Why we always tell people to vote. I don't know. I think Mayor Pete, though I'm not a fan. I mean, none of them have my vote yet. So,
Do
yeah,
you
Pete.
think you're leading Democrat though?
No, actually, I'm really hurt because if there's no other Republican in the race,
Right.
right? So like
And you're not a Trump fan, right?
I'm not a Trump fan. I'm not a Trump fan on 3 issues, and you mentioned them, right? Which is the poor, right? He although he is stepping up on the addiction thing, he's done a lot more than I thought he would do. But Medicaid, food stamps, things like that. I think. Although he came out publicly this past week and said he isn't touching Social Security.
Right.
But in the Senate, the head of the Senate just proposed a bill that went into both Medicaid and Social Security. So is it just he's saying that for the cameras, but he's telling his leadership in the Senate and the House and everything, push this through?
Sure, send it to my desk and I'll sign it.
Yeah, of course. Then he can stand back and say, "Oh, it wasn't me." I'm very concerned with that. I'm very concerned with the fact there's a lot of elderly people. There's a lot of people that are of low income. And an individual told me something today, and he's right. He says, you're low income, and if you have a low education attainment, and you don't have a good job, it's incumbent upon you to get the education so you can get the job so that you can increase your salary.
Well, the jobs
But
here,
there's only so much a person can do.
one of the things I see in a community like this, you have the working poor. You have people right now who are working part-time, full-time jobs in the city who are living out of their car.
Yeah.
I was speaking with an individual yesterday. He works full-time at a restaurant locally, and he lives out of his car. He goes to the YMCA to shower or brush his teeth.
Yeah,
and,
sure.
He changes in the locker room, or he changes,
Yeah.
in the car when
Yeah.
nobody's looking.
And he's working.
And he's working. But he's not, because he's working,
Yeah.
he's not eligible for benefits.
Right.
He's above the cap
Right.
where you would
Right.
be to get the benefits that maybe somebody who's not working is receiving.
Exactly.
So what do? Do you work and try to pull yourself out
Or do you jump on the system?
of the cycle, or do you rely upon the system and then cap what you're able to do?
Right.
Tough debate.
But exactly. But you know what, Will? Back 5 years ago, you could be on Social Security, and you could get $1,200 a month. You get some heating assistance, you get some fuel assistance, you get some food stamps. Now, with the rent increases, people making $1,000, $1,200 a month are seeing rents going from $550 to $1,100, $1,200, $1,300.
Too high.
It's not keeping up. So now the poor people are really hurt now, because now your main thing, which is the roof over your head and the food in your stomach, how do you do it?
Yeah.
On Social Security.
So I guess to cap the presidential race, your Republican nominee is going to be Donald J. Trump. There's no doubt about that.
Oh, absolutely.
And then on the Democratic side, I think you're looking at Bernie Sanders or Michael Bloomberg, or a small possibility, Mayor Pete.
Bernie, I think, I've said this before, I like Bernie more this time than last time.
Okay.
But what hurts me with Bernie is the giveaways. Bernie wants to give everything away. He wants. We had this discussion the other day.
If it's free, it's for me.
That's what people like, So I think he's going to do well with the lazy young people. He's going to do well with the elderly people, and he may do well with the people in the middle. But he hasn't got my vote because, like I said to you before, if you want a college education and you're going to make $100,000 a year, then you need to pay for that college education. Maybe what they need to do is work with the colleges to decrease the amount it costs to get an education, but to give free education to everybody, free this, free that, I don't think it's such a good president.
You might be right. Locally, King Philip Mill?
King Philip Mills is turning into a nightmare.
Yeah, it's bad.
Turning into a nightmare. One of the fears I have, and maybe it's too much, and you're good at leveling me out. I'm concerned that they're looking at projects, and I've been told this, they're looking at everything over the last couple of years, all development. And now we have South Coast Marketplace, we have the marijuana industry, we have all these developments. You have the one on all the streets just open.
Yeah.
Do you believe the Attorney General is actually looking at that stuff,
Yeah.
or is she focused on one?
No, I really believe the Attorney General is focused on all demolition projects in the city of Fall River. If you are involved in a demolition project of I'm not talking about like single family home or anything
No,
like
no,
that,
no, of course
but
not.
a large scale demolition project, especially of a mill building or a old school building, you have to make sure that you're doing everything by the law, and you should be. And this isn't casting doubt on anybody. This isn't finger pointing at anyone, because that's not what we're about here. We're just talking in generalities.
Yeah.
But if you have the responsibility to demolish a mill, let's say, then you have the responsibility to make sure that you're doing it in a safe manner. That if there is asbestos in that mill, you're carrying it away. If there is contamination in the ground, that you're digging it out and capping it. And especially if you're working towards the water, you can't put any of those contaminants or pollutants in the water.
Oh, of course not. No. And right there, they're bordering the water over there. Now, somebody said to me the other day that they thought that they probably found something in them 2 days that they dug it up, because after the 2 days they were digging, looking, the inspectors, is when the 10 subpoenas came down.
So, and again, I'm talking in hypotheticals here.
Absolutely.
What ifs,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
So, no doubt you probably have a grand jury investigation. So a grand jury would be convened, and people would go and testify in front of the grand jury, or documents would be submitted in front of a grand jury, and a grand jury would sit and listen to determine whether or not they felt that there was any wrongdoing, any criminality out there at that site. And if they felt that there was probable cause to believe that something criminal could have happened out there at that site, then the Attorney General's office would go to a judge in Superior Court and seek a warrant.
Right.
So right there, you need probable cause
So there's something there.
to believe something bad happened
Yeah,
at that
yeah.
property.
Right.
So once they got on that property, they already had probable cause.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
probably something bad happened. And then from what we hear, they've been digging.
Yeah.
And they've been finding stuff.
Yep.
And they've been bagging it, and they've been tagging it.
Yeah, and testing it right away. I mean, they're not putting it on a waiting list.
So if they determine that contaminated debris, contaminated material was illegally dumped or illegally disposed of at that site,
Yeah. Intentionally buried is what I'm hearing.
people are going to be held responsible.
Absolutely.
And rightfully so.
The contractor.
Rightfully. Well, I don't know who.
Well, I mean, let's hypothetical again,
Yeah.
because I don't want to point the finger. If I'm an owner and I hire a contractor to do something, it's incumbent upon the contractor to follow the rules and regulations of the state.
It all flows downhill,
Yeah.
right?
It all flows. Well, yeah, I mean, you can come back to me and say, well, you hired them.
Sure.
But if I'm not aware of it, so we don't want to point fingers anyways. But let's move on to the 10 subpoenas.
Yeah.
10 subpoenas to City Hall.
Mm-hmm.
Never heard of, unheard of, never in all my years around politics. Is there 10 departments involved in?
Yes.
Yes, there is.
So the Attorney General, and this is something new.
Yeah.
When's the last time you've heard City Hall being hit with subpoenas? Now, we've always heard rumors and innuendos
never
and
happened,
gossip.
no. Yeah.
Fall River has a lot of gossip.
Yeah,
or
yeah,
a lot of
yeah.
gossip.
No, this is fact.
This is fact.
This is fact.
10
I've confirmed it.
10 subpoenas
Yes,
have
that's a
been
lot.
delivered to City Hall.
Yeah.
What does that mean? Well, the Attorney General, who has a very good reputation as Attorney General.
She's tough.
Especially on the environment.
Yeah, she's tough.
Believes that 10 departments in Government Center have information that will assist her in her criminal investigation.
Right.
Not saying anybody did anything wrong
No.
in Government
Doesn't
Center,
mean any department actually was involved in anything.
but there's evidence there.
Yeah,
And that's
paper
why
trail.
she's there.
Paper trail.
Yeah.
Looking for the paper trail. If in fact, again, we're dealing with hypotheticals. If in fact something, any one of those departments are found to have knowingly allowed something to happen, is that a criminal thing or?
Well, you just hit the nail on the head. If they intentionally did it,
Yeah, like say they covered it up, they knew it was wrong, but they gave the permit anyways.
sure.
Yeah, it's a criminal.
Could be.
All right. Now they're not targeting this administration, as I understand. This is going back to when all these permits were issued.
Yeah, I don't know
You
if
would
they're
think?
targeting any one individual. This is
Okay.
an investigation.
Just wide open.
So they're going to go where the evidence leads them.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody's a target at this point. I don't think anybody has a criminal indictment being processed right now.
Right,
But
right.
there's an investigation. And when they wrap up their investigation, the people probably are going to be held responsible if something wrong was done. But I have to say, the people who I feel the most for, the people who my heart goes out to, are the people in the South End.
Yeah, yeah.
First of all, this King Philip Mill was an albatross around the South End's neck, right?
For a long
For a
time.
long time.
Yeah.
Going back many, many years.
Yeah, yeah.
And just when they thought something good was about to happen,
Yep.
they got a kick in the teeth.
Yeah, yeah,
And-
absolutely.
And it happens all too often in Fall River. Just when we think we're going to put the football in the end zone and score a
Yeah,
touchdown,
yeah,
boom, we got
yeah.
stopped at the
Yeah,
one
and
yard
it just
line.
seems that, it's the old story of 3 rungs up the ladder,
And
2
then
down.
4 back,
You know,
right?
a 4 backwards. I mean, we've seen it with the casino. We were right almost there,
Mm-hmm.
and boom, it dropped back. Who gets a casino? The guy up the street.
Right.
So, and I think I'm more worried about the fact that I thought we were seeing some of this negativity go away, some of the forever clown atmosphere seen by other states begin to diminish a little bit. New administration, things have been quiet a couple of months, But this throws us right back in the national media.
Puts us right back in the media where last evening people from New York and California and Colorado were calling and texting and emailing saying, hey, what is going on there? We thought all this stuff had ended. What's this now? What's going on? Where people even thought there were dead bodies on the site.
Yeah,
So
I
I'm
heard.
serious.
I know. I heard crazy
People were calling and
stuff.
saying, well,
Yeah.
what, they got a dead body
Yeah,
on
I
the
heard
site?
that.
What's
Yeah,
going on?
yeah.
You
Whose
know?
body was it? Yeah.
And it's like, no, it's, it's an environmental investigation.
Right,
They're not looking
right,
for dead bodies out there at King Philip Mill.
And one other thing is, we'll move off the King Philip thing. It was so I think your show is popular on the radio, and
Thank you.
you had some conversations yesterday about the current mayor and the state of the mayor's office, and I think some people are being a little over-concerned or a little butthurt or whatever the proper term might be. I don't know about the mayor's office. I mean, he's been in office around 2 months. No real initiative that I'm aware of, and I'm not aware of everything, has he done, right? So he's really been meeting department heads, meeting the public, listening to what's going on, and waiting for the transition team to bring a report to him, which hasn't happened. But some people are saying that, he's not doing anything, and he's not, what are we going to get out of this? And what do you think about that?
I think he's getting on his feet.
Yeah, I mean, you know what it was like being a mayor.
Sure.
Coming in.
I think Mayor Coogan is not going to go out there and, sing and dance for us. He's not that type of
No.
not that type of mayor.
No.
But I think he's getting on his feet. I think he's going out there and doing his best to assess, the state of the city. And I think, if we're still having this conversation 7 months from now, I would be a little more concerned.
Yeah.
But, I think we should allow him to get through a budget, maybe put forth some initiatives throughout the summertime. And then, as we go into the fall, to say, hey, look, as a mayor, okay, he's already did his 100 days. He's already completing his first year of his first term. As a city, where are we going? Because one thing about Fall River, every 2 years or less sometimes, you have an election. So by 2021, if the city is not comfortable with the direction that we are going in, he'll have a credible opponent. But right now, I don't see that happening.
Right. And I think, like I said to you yesterday, I don't see that he stepped on his toes. He's not stepping on his tongue. He's being cautious on what he says, and I think he's right now he's making the right moves. I would like to see a little bit more action on the addiction and crime, but it's only a couple of months, so I'll give him another month or two. But I'm not going to go as far as to say a year. Well, I think we've seen in Fall River that you leave a mayor in office a year, a lot of things can happen.
Yeah.
So I think a mayor, after this last administration, I think a mayor has to start showing something in 90 days. Every 90 days, there needs to be something. moving. You got to show us some growth.
What would you want to see from him?
I would like to see some action plans. Okay, here's what we've assessed in our first 90 days, 100 days. Here are some action steps.
Here's what we're going to tackle.
Right, come back in 90 days. What did we achieve? What didn't we? That's all. No, I'm not saying bring the roof down, but I've been around too long and I've heard too many promises that never materialized. And the worst one is we're looking at it. We're going to get a committee. We're going to form a committee.
We'll get back to you.
Yeah, I don't want to hear that. I want to see action. So we'll wait a couple of months and we'll see if we get any action. But I don't think there's anything major going on. He handled that big flood there, and that was done like really quick. The new roads and everything in like 3 days. Just walked in the office, so I think that was pretty good for him.
I think don't let the the hat and button down fool you. Even though he may not be wearing a $2,000 suit or giving an eloquent speech, I think he's got the chops to get the job done.
Yeah, I think he's got an idea on what he's up against now. I think he's realizing, like you did and everybody else did. After you're there a month or two, you say, "Woo, I didn't think it was this bad."
Right.
And the more you dig, the worse it gets. Right.
Well, he may say, "Hey, I'm just leaving."
I don't know. But I don't think there's anything to be concerned of right now. I think we should just give him a little more time, and in the end, everything comes out. It always does.
Before we wrap up, tell me about the show. Is it going to be a weekly show?
Well, what we want to do here is we'd love to get a co-host at least twice a month.
Yeah.
A nice Saturday 1 hour show, and have a real good calendar of what's happened the last couple of weeks in the national level and the local level. And I'm looking for a co-host to do that twice a month. And after that, we're going to do a weekly show, and then we're going to move on down to brief 5-10 minute shots throughout the course of the day, where the local radio does a 12 o'clock thing.
Sure.
We're talking about maybe about doing a 1 o'clock, so 1 to 1:15. Here's our update. Here's how we see it, and see how it goes. We're struggling with all the restrictions on Facebook, so we're building our YouTube platform, and all our shows will be going direct to YouTube.
Okay.
They'll be going on SoundCloud.
Well, this is beautiful, very professional.
We just ordered some very high-tech computer system that's going to be able to do graphics that are incredible.
Yeah.
So the lead-ins, or there'll be all kinds of graphics and stuff. It's going to be really cool.
And you know how to operate all this stuff?
No, I don't know that. I'm just the guy that says, here's what I want.
Okay.
What does it take to get...
You point to everything.
Yeah.
You're like the Scorsese.
I'm the...
You're the director.
Producer.
You're the producer.
I say, here's what we want.
Right.
What do we need to do to get it? And then I get on the phone and make it happen.
Make it happen.
But yeah, I think we're on the right trail here. I like the setup and
That's beautiful.
Quality of everything. Since last year, just the equipment upgrades are humongous. So we look forward to growing law.
Thank you for having me. I'm honored to be here.
And I'd like to have you come back once or twice a month.
Always.
All right.
Thank you.
So there you have it, folks. This is our first episode. Attorney Will Flanagan, former mayor, my friend and my guest. And hopefully we'll get him back in March. And maybe we can get him in the contract and help us boost our ratings. But please, this is our first show. We come back. We'll get a little more interesting. We'll have a lot of different guests. And we'll see you next time. Stay safe. God bless.
Thank you.
There.
We're off?
Off there.
You'll step off.
Very good.
In case we're not.
Very good.
I thought the timing was perfect.
Yep. That went well.
No flubs, everything went well.
No breakdowns.
We got people watching?
Yeah, we had 25 at this point. At this time of the day, that's not bad. We'll have a bunch later. What did they say? Use the forward background? Yeah. Sure I did. Should I put it off? Make sure you shut it off. Because the screen's black. That's probably just the camera doing that, right? Screen on the pad is black.